Instead of marketing having like a goal that is very early in the journey, make them have a goal that is later in the journey and then adjust their activities according to that. If you're kind of that cowboy salesperson that, just punches in the number on the phone and then dial the customer, it's great if you sell, but still it leaves no kind of pattern behind because there's no digital reflection to be looked at within the calling software. You can only spend your money once, and you should be spending it where you get the most effectiveness out of it.
Welcome to the Revenue Discussion Podcast. This podcast aims to inspire and educate the newest generation of revenue leaders on various subjects related to sales, marketing, revenue operations, and customer success. Every week, we invite an inspirational guest who is willing to share his or her insights, strategies, and tactics that has worked or still working for him or her. Today we invited Steffen Hedebrandt to the show. If you don't know who he is a co-founder and CMO of Dreamdata.io. And the mission of Dreamdata is to gain visibility in what drives B2B revenue. So think of capturing different digital touches to map out the customer journey. Think of buying intent. Think of attribution models. Think of understanding how much in advance you should start with your commercial activities to close a deal today. So all of that and more is what we will be discussing today. Enjoy the episode. Welcome, Steffen, to the show. Very glad you're here. How you doing?
Hey, Dylan. I'm doing pretty good. And thanks for inviting me to the show.
It is a pleasure. Can you maybe start by telling where you're calling from?
Yeah, I'm in Denmark, in Copenhagen. Awesome. So a bit north of Belgium.
Yeah, beautiful country though. So, Steffen, you're the co-founder and CMO of Dreamdata, and I know that you guys. Your goal is to create visibility in what drives B2B revenue. Mm-hmm. But that's what I got out of the website and kind of researching you guys. But I want to hear it from you, from the co-founder, from the CMO. What is Dreamdata, and maybe at the same time give a little bit of background about yourself. Where did you start it, and how did that leads up to co-found Dreamdata?
Yeah, I can try to give you a quick pitch. So mainly, I've been in B2B companies ever since I graduated university, and I've been mainly involved in marketing and growth roles in various ways in companies that have been highly digital, if not completely digital, ever since. So that's whatever I'm saying. It's very colored by that. This is my experience, and there's definitely other ways that work as well. But I've been taking the digital approach to go to market, you can say. And then in my past job, I went through this journey of being less than 20 employees up to around 100 employees at a B2B company, and spending zero money on ads up to spending around 100,000 euros on ads per month when we were spending the most. And in the beginning, you have a pretty good idea about what kind of return you see on your money. But as you're running full speed, the last 10-20,000 you put in, you're a little bit, I don't know whether it works or not. So during that my tenure there, as I've ended up there, I met my two co-founders, and they showed me their ugly, alpha product, and I could suddenly see that I could now see stuff I could never see before, which means how did my ad spend actually impact how much our salespeople sold for 6 months, 12 months later. And that's kind of, I firmly believe that you should be doing marketing to, either create sales pipeline or at best sell deals. And everything else is pretty much a waste of time. So as I saw that these guys could actually solve this, we ended up, getting together and trying to build a business around it. And for the first 1 to 2 years, I did all sales, all demo calls, etc. So I got my fair share of, trying to be an account executive as well. And I got a lot of respect for the sales craft through that. And also it didn't, it's changed the way I thought about marketing, because if you know there's an actual person that is going to receive these demo calls or these marketing qualified leads or whatever, then you've completely changed the, you can say, quality criteria of what do you actually hand over to sales, because you don't want to be wasting people's time, and you do that if you hand over low quality leads. And then so kind of that's my approach to sales and marketing initially. What we've built with Dreamdata is basically, you can call it a go-to-market data warehouse for B2B companies, which means we basically extract everything that touches accounts digitally from any tool. So that's, typically from your CRM tool, if you have an outreach tool, calling software, messaging software, automation software, etc. It's what takes place on your website, and then the money you spend on ads trying to drive people to the website. And this, when you run that through our algorithms, basically creates a timeline of all the touches that you know of on an account. Mm-hmm. And if I am to do you can say the sales pitch here, then the situation changes when you're in a demo call, because you can actually see which path did this customer take to reach this demo call, or which piece of content did they look at while they were deciding on when to book this demo call, or while they waited for the demo call. So the script or the pitch that you arrive at the that demo call can change a lot according to the actions that the customer has taken.
Yeah. And especially now in days where everything is being digitalized, where you know that the customer is going to inform himself or herself before entering that demo call, now you kind of get an initial idea of what they know already. You can anticipate on that, I suppose.
Yeah, exactly. And we also then use the same product to also decide upon who to reach out to, because customers, unfortunately, mainly spend their time ghosting you. So they do all sorts of stuff, read your emails, visit your website, log into your product, etc. And we kind of monitor everything that takes place anywhere. So when you have to decide upon who should I reach out today, you can sort it by who are actually active in some system, and then meaningfully reach out according to what they do.
Okay. No, very interesting. And what I like also from your story is that you were and still are a CMO. You have now also touched on the sales aspect, and a topic I see coming over and over again, in the community, is marketing and sales alignment. It's also, stepping away from the term marketing and sales, but actually now more talking about revenue growth.
Yeah.
Talking about the revenue story. So how do you guys try to take on that challenge?
So this is something we care deeply about as well. And actually, for the listeners here, they can go to our website and find we made a blog post called the 10 things that we do to align sales and marketing. But I think it starts with you flipping your mind from being, as you said, a marketing silo and a sales silo, because the customer doesn't care. The customer is just in one customer journey. So, and then typically marketing starts the journey, and typically sales gets the contract signed. And then we want to help each other as much as we can to make this happen. So practical advice, I would say, make sure when you have your weekly sales meetings, make sure that somebody from marketing sits in, listens to the conversations that you guys in sales have. Because marketers can, if they're at least decent, can spot kind of what are the things that are consistently being said, and come up with content that instead of being a one-to-one answer, then you can actually make a really good one-to-many answer to this question. Mm-hmm. So that the next time you have customers coming into your website, they've at least had the opportunity to read the answer to this question. And hopefully the sales conversation is a little bit more progressed than what it used to be. Yeah. I would say, throw parties together. Make sure that Yeah, or like ask the marketing people to join the sales calls. If you and the
And what
sales
about
team if you and the sales team have a really good understanding of who is good to sell to, walk into the marketing room if it's, if you're physically next to each other and tell them, we like to sell to companies who looks like this. Can you please try to attract more of these? So I think it comes up to both departments to really take responsibility that we understand each other. So, we
Definitely.
could be doing the best marketing in the world, but if the salespeople doesn't pick up the phone when it rings, then the value of the marketing we've done is very little.
Yeah, no, 100%. And also, when it comes to the power of data, I think there also you have now an extra, because what Dreamdata does ultimately is adding an extra layer of information, of insights that can be both beneficial for the marketing department as well as for the sales department, and knowing
Yeah.
what each other can mean for each other. So how do you there, what kind of insights do you see that comes from marketing but are super valuable for sales, and inversely, what data coming from sales can give to marketing that's super interesting?
Yeah. It's a good question, Dylan, and I think there's you can answer it in many different ways, but typically the way that at least when you use an attribution product, I think you should start with looking at you should start by looking at the deals that we've won. Which paths did they take, and are there anything here in these paths that they've taken that are kind of replicable? Can we do it again? Can we scale it so that we scale the activities we know, make it all the way to close to one? And if you then have a bunch of activities that you do and might be expensive and time consuming but never reach close one, then you probably want to be stopping with those marketing activities. So you look backwards at what worked in the past, and then you try to do more of that in the future. I think from a sales perspective, you can really help marketing so much by just informing them what are the questions that our customers are consistently asking. How do our ideal customer profile look like? Though I would say that is a discipline for the whole company, not just sales, but you can still let marketing know that these are the people that I try to sell to. And then I think the best thing marketing can do is to be obsessed with doing stuff that go far down the pipeline. An example like that could be like if we set the goal for marketing was just to convert emails, then maybe they should just be running a funny cat video to try to get as many emails. But that would very likely be a waste of salespeople's time, because there's no buying intent in people signing up for a funny cat video. So you want to have your marketing team obsessed with how many, for example, sales qualified opportunities is created, or at best pipeline if you have enough velocity to that. So again, that instead of marketing having like a goal that is very early in the journey, make them have a goal that is later in the journey, and then adjust their activities according to that.
Yeah, you said something interesting there, is that marketeers should actually focus on the activities where you will get actual buying intent. And so from your experience and what you see happening with Dreamdata, what are good buying intents most of the time?
It's typically there's typically less volume, because high intent has a smaller volume. Like, people are not in the market all of, typically you say like 1-3% of the market is actually buying right now. So you want to make sure that you've covered everywhere on the internet where people are actually expressing this intent. And in an example of when marketers can do it a bit wrong is like if, let's say that they're measured on what you could call a marketing qualified lead, and if then those who are doing it wrong are just reading it as a lead. So that could be like a download of an ebook or a sign up to a newsletter, which to me, at least when I do these things, holds no intent of doing anything right now. I'm just interested in whatever topic this company is doing. But if somebody actually goes and books a demo call with you and it comes from a company you normally sell to, then that's an expression of intent that they actually want to speak to a salesperson and they represent a company that you normally sell to.
Okay, so that's interesting, because now I have another question for you. Suppose that, you have that potential customer, that prospect that has already downloaded 10 different mini guides from your company. And so, you have those 10 touches already, and you think, all right, maybe I should reach out to them, versus having that one person that hasn't done anything yet except, trying a demo. Is then that person that tries a demo more valuable to you than the one that, is really informed in what you do and what you are?
Good question. I think there's probably gonna be examples of the both being the most attractive one. But is that somebody actually raises their hand and say that they want to talk to sales is probably the strongest intent. Whereas somebody who's just consuming content might just find your topic interesting while not wanting to buy. I would say if somebody looks super active, sending a DM on LinkedIn would probably still make sense, just to offer your help and see if you can trigger something. I typically think about content consumption of you're giving value, you're giving knowledge away to these people, and you then can also extract it at some point, but it also sometimes you actually need to reach out to actually extract the value. I can give you a small example. On Thursday this week, we're having a live event on LinkedIn, and I just got my colleague to take my LinkedIn profile and send a templated message to 100 people or so. And now actually some of them write me back, hey, I can't join on Thursday, but I've been following you for a while and I actually want to, who can I talk to learn more about your solution? So if there's never this if you never do the outreach, you don't know whether that, following actually represents intent as well. So obviously I think you can you can argument for both ways. I think I just did.
Yeah, but your example is a good illustration that people can be passive sometimes, and having a proactive approach now and then, it cannot be everything. You cannot only do outreach, outbound, but having a good balance is definitely something I also believe in.
Yeah, I think the worst thing you can experience is somebody who starts selling immediately when you have actually not shown.
We agree on that.
Yeah. Just today I connected with somebody on LinkedIn, and then 1 minute later there's a sales pitch in my
pitch left.
Yeah, exactly. And then I just deleted the message. It would be different if he had been following me, liked my post, commented, and then 4 weeks later ask me something.
Exactly, 100%. Now, when you guys study the different customer journeys, because there is also one big question I have regarding customer journeys. I never know, do people, do all of the people kind of buy the same way? Do they all have a similar customer journey at the end, in average? Or do you really see that, some people really come directly from LinkedIn, other people can maybe come from Google and then on the website, other people, got referred to you, other maybe come from review websites. So, having all the data and all that holistic view on where leads can come from, do you see there kind of, and that can be unique per company, right? But do you see that per company, there is kind of an average customer journey that can be mapped out?
Good question. I would say you can come up with average numbers on a journey, but there is no such thing as an average journey. At least it's only the top 0.1% of big B2B companies that actually would have enough data to have a representative customer journey, because we put out some benchmarks before the summer that said the average journey was 192 days and had an average of 32 sessions and more than 2 people involved in each deal.
Oh, wow.
But it might as well be that, this company, even within Dreamdata, there's certain journeys that have 1 person involved. There's other journeys that have 5 people involved. Some journeys take 2 months. Other journeys take, a year. So and then, but just by clashing that all together and say this is the average journey, I really don't believe that you should try to like even think about it. I think what you should be like everybody loves a funnel because it's so logical how it
people
evolves.
Try to. That's an exercise. It's actually a brainstorm workshop exercise where you try to map out the customer journey and the funnel.
Yeah.
So, but continue. Sorry, I interrupted you.
And I think it differs. So I think when you reach the later stages of the journey, then I think you can start thinking about a funnel. For example, we have what we call a marketing qualified lead, and then sales acceptable lead, sales qualified lead, and then deal one. And we actually know the average of each time in each stage. But the time it takes leading up to you actually saying, okay, now I'm ready for a sales conversation can differ so much. And I think that the best thing you can do as a company is just constantly being present and constantly be giving value to your customers, because people might not have the budget right now. They might need to change job before they can actually buy your service, which they like. So I think the best thing you can do is just constantly add value to those who look like your ideal customer profile, and then like most likely it will be you that they reaches out to when they have the budget, when the timing is right. They might just have a leader that changed, or the ops guy just moved out, or 100 things can happen. So the only thing you can like proactively control is that you produce quality stuff and put in front of them. And the reason why I'm saying stuff is that, it can be blog posts, it can be video, it can be a webinar, or like something a webinar-ish like what we do, but it can also be one-to-one chat on LinkedIn. So there's many ways you can do quality touches, but just make sure you get it done.
Yeah, no, I like that, definitely. I mean, in our case, we are a community, so it's not like we have... It's not like we can do consultancy services or help in a call or something like that. But when we can, we try to do introductions and try to help people that way. So I totally believe you can always try to add some value, no matter where in the funnel, no matter who it is. And,
I think for you guys as well. Like I think you also do a lot of free events, right? Or like produce free content as well. So the same way that kind of you need to give a lot of value, but then you also need to like have that one-on-one conversation at the event or something like that to bring them across the line. So you need to do a bit of both.
Definitely. Now, when you have together all the different data sources, I can imagine it's different for an SME than for a big corporate that has a bunch of data. But what are for you like you are an SME, you're running, you are right, but you want to get more visibility. What are for you the most important sources that they can, try to put together?
Good question. So we are in the business of B2B, and I think the main thing that a lot of B2B companies get wrong is that most of the tools that they use, at least in the marketing end of the spectrum, are intended for like a B2C scenario. So they're looking at people as individuals instead of part of accounts. Facebook, Google, LinkedIn, it's all the same. They're looking at the actions of an individual. And if there's then 3 people involved in the buyer journey, then you might do your marketing investment in starting the journey with one person, but then if it's his or her boss that then signs the contract, then the cost you had acquiring that account to start their journey is just looking like an expense. So first of all, you need to develop an understanding of that you're actually in a world where there is such a thing as an account journey and not an individual timeline. But then I would say from there on, it's every interaction you have with an account matters. It might come in through your chat on your website. It might, be a demo call. It might be a physical meeting. It might be a click on an ad and then a visit to the website. I think the important thing is that you kind of wire your organization to leave as much digital trace as it can in order for you, when you are interested in doing the analysis, then you can go back and look at the numbers. So an example can be if you're kind of that cowboy salesperson that just punches in the number on the phone and then dial the customer. It's great if you sell, but still it leaves no kind of pattern behind, because there's no digital reflection to be looked at within the calling software. Mm-hmm. It could also be like if you do all your customer support from your like Gmail, well, that's also hard to understand. So if you put all of that into a customer success software, then again you have like a history of an account. And in that sense, you can kind of think through your whole customer journey and think about all the interactions you have with your accounts, and make sure that you don't do these kind of just offline behavior, because then you have no chance of actually understanding what takes place when you want to do reflection and analysis.
Yeah, that's a good one. Try to be intentional in where you can capture data, because that ultimately gives you more insight and visibility in what brings the revenue.
Yeah.
Another question I have is, how you guys capture data before actually you have been in touch with a customer. And I'm always asking myself, all right, but how do you guys do that? Because at the end, you can only know when people reach out to you, when they did reach out to you, or when you reach out to them. But how do you guys then get a greater visibility beyond that?
Yeah. So let's start with the problem. And the problem is, the original source field in the CRM system, which is typically what the marketers are being measured on. What normally takes place is that the original source field gets either custom populated by a salesperson, or it gets populated by the session in which the demo call was booked. But people, they very rarely go directly to your website and come out of nowhere and not just want to book a demo. There's always a path towards it. And for example, when we have a demo booked on our website, it takes an average of 4 visits. And the first visit is typically like some kind of marketing activity, paid, organic referral. And then the second one could be organic, because they Google the brand name in Google. And now your website sticks, and then they just type in Dreamdata and then hit enter, and then it looks like it's direct. And this would say, in this case, it would just say original source direct in the CRM system, but it was actually started by a marketing activity. So that either makes you waste a lot of money because you can't see this connection, or you grow your company a lot slower than what you could actually do if you had this transparency. Mm-hmm. Now, the way that we solve it is that we have a tracking script that we put on our customer's website. And tracking script is basically just a fine term for us, looking at who's arriving at the website, giving them an ID and writing down, they came from this place, they did these things, and they went here afterwards. And then we just consistently write a logbook of what is this ID doing. And then upon the time when they do a form submit, which is meaning book a demo, download a newsletter, etc., we get the consent to look at what did you do while you were anonymous. So if you had 5 visits before you booked the demo, we can see what did you do on those 5 visits before. And then we see, it was actually not direct as the original source. It was a paid Facebook or something like that.
Oh yeah, okay. Okay, interesting. So once you get in touch with them, then you have all that logged activities that you get back linked to those person.
Yeah, and that's how it stays, you can say, GDPR compliant as well, because your behavior initially just completely anonymous. We have no clue who you are. But when you push through the form that's included in the terms and conditions, we can now look at what you did while you were anonymous.
Mm-hmm. Talking about GDPR, have I heard that Google Analytics is now illegal in Denmark?
Yes, illegal in, I think, Denmark, Italy, Austria, France, or something like that. So I think it's moving towards the whole of EU quite soon, which is kind of a mind-blowing consequence. One, because, 99% of websites uses Google Analytics, and two, if this is true for the Google Analytics case, it's probably also true for 100 other tech companies. And which basically what takes place is that Google records the data in the EU, but then they transfer the data then to the US without guarantees of how protected it is and who can watch this data. That's how I understand it. And I think they've had, how old is GDPR now? Like 5-6 years. So they have had enough time to actually get a hold of this problem. But I think, like, first of all, Google Analytics is huge, but then there's other companies who are in the same situation. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens going forward here.
Because definitely when you hear that comes from a Google product, that's not what you would expect, right? You think
no.
That, but yeah. Never. It's not because you're a giant you cannot be vulnerable to those legislations.
No. And to be honest, even though it's sometimes problematic from a marketing point of view, as a private person, I'm actually happy with that. There is actually some bigger unit that actually tries to protect us a little bit for not just being misused anywhere we can be misused.
Right. Yeah. All right, let's go back to Dreamdata a little bit, because I'm also kind of curious. Now that you guys, I don't know, when did you guys start it up? Was that?
Like 3.5-4 years ago by now.
4 years.
Yeah.
All right, so maybe at the beginning when you guys started it, you had an initial problem in your head, right? Just gaining more visibility in what actually drives revenue. But now that you guys are 4 years into business, have you also seen other problems, issues that you are now actually solving thanks to gaining that visibility?
So I think the best part of it for me is that it has become now a product I wish I had in my former jobs, because as a marketer, I get visibility into how our customer journey is looking and which of my activities are actually producing the deals that the salespeople sell, and which of my activities are a waste of time or money. And even though that's painful to know, it's good, because then next time I can reinvest money more into things that are like meaningfully producing pipeline.
Mm-hmm. Do you work then with attribution models?
Yes, I think that's a important topic as well, though it can be a little bit complex. But I can
also explain for the audience, because maybe not everyone knows what an attribution model is.
Yes. So if we wait with the model just a little second, then imagine you have 100% of everything that took place in a customer journey. Then you would know everything that happened. Now you have those 100%, and then you can use an attribution model to look at different parts of those 100%. So there's a couple of classic attribution models, which one is the first touch attribution model, where you look at what was the very first touch on this journey. And then there's the last touch model. What is the very last touch on this journey? Typically, then the first touch will come from a marketing activity or an outbound activity. And the last touch would probably be a call or a meeting that a salesperson had. So as you have the whole journey available, then depending on what is your role in this journey, you can, isolate certain parts of the journey. Could be you're the one that holds all your webinars, and then webinars is an activity that moves people from marketing qualified to sales qualified, because they interact with you and they start to understand what your product does. Then you would want to look at those specific timestamps, what happens from when they're MQL to SQL. If it's your task to start the journeys, then you want to use an attribution model that looks at the first part of the journey, and so forth. So it's kind of, you can think about an attribution model as a lens that kind of amplifies certain parts of the customer journey. And depending on your role, there are certain parts of the customer journey that you're interested in.
Yeah, that's interesting, because then you can probably measure an average cost to get a lead to a marketing qualified lead, from that marketing qualified lead to a sales qualified lead. And with those different initiatives, you can then probably see, all right, that is the activity that performs the best. That's where you should double down next year, or next quarter, whatsoever. to actually increase performance.
Yeah, and then 100% correct, Dylan. I would say that it's, you know, you will never get to knowing 100%. That would be a dream, but that's not gonna happen. There's always gonna be, you know, could be somebody listening to the conversation we have here. Could be you had a beer with somebody at a conference and then they check out your website afterwards. A friend recommends a product to you. Somebody mentions you in a Slack channel and so forth. So there's always going to be stuff that is not going to be in the digital model. And that's where you need to, you know, apply some common sense to your activities as well to think about, is this a meaningful thing to do or not? And then, you know, then the you can say the tracking of the activity can be kind of an afterthought. First, is it meaningful to do this? Yes, okay. Then secondly, how do we make sure that we can track this and repeat this activity afterwards?
Yeah, no, interesting. Now, because right now with the community, we're also more focusing on sales, and I know we shouldn't work within silos, but within sales, you know, you have all that aspect of pipeline management, which is very important, and which has as ultimate goal also to forecast the deals that will close, the quarter that will come. And what, you know, fascinates me there is that, or fascinates me, what, you know, should actually change there is that people actually track the forecast from a moment in that pipeline. But actually, it could be more interesting to me if we could forecast it much earlier, you know, from perhaps marketing touches, you know, very low, not decisive touches yet, because that could be an indication. As you say, it was 192 days in average before an opportunity, I mean, from first touch to a closed deal. So that means, because to me also, the sooner you can predict something, I mean, the better you can then take decisions based on what you can predict that much earlier. And I think that's just going to be better for the business, for the commercial department, for the thing in general. So I'm kind of curious, you know, what have you experienced regarding that?
Yeah, so what we can see across multiple of our customers is that the real journey is actually like, it's probably twice as long as you expect. And what I mean by that is that typically when you get asked this question and a salesperson answer, they know exactly when did we see this email the first time in the CRM and when did it close. But that's actually not, you know, the customer journey. That's the sales journey that they know. And what we can see is that the phase before that is maybe 1 or 1.5x as long as the identified time. And I think it will only increase in the future because people like to do their own research and they can just use the internet, find different vendors. And once they're ready to, you know, maybe they've picked the 2 or 3 vendors that they actually want to talk to, then they engage in this conversation. So I think the unknown time will just keep increasing in the future. But this also means that, you know, if you're in marketing and you want to help your sales team reach their targets, you need to start out twice as much time in front as you expected. So if the journey was, if the average journey is 3 months, then you actually need to start 6 months before with your activities in order to fill their pipeline in time, to allow them enough time to prosper into deals afterwards. So when you're setting the marketing budget to hit a certain point in a certain year in terms of sales, then the spend needs to be done. You know, it shouldn't be done in December because that's way too late to impact this year. Right. It also means that if you don't understand this dynamic, then the experiments that you run in terms of growth and marketing, etc., you risk either stopping them too early or too late because you don't have transparency into how long should you actually expect an average customer journey to take.
Right. And I can also imagine, depending on the deal size, depending on the size of the prospect, the customer, depending on, you know, what industry they are active in, you can also expect their differences in customer journey length. Is that possible?
Yes. So we don't have enough data for it to, you can say, being scientifically correct, but you can very easily see that the channel that people enter from impacts how long the journey is afterwards. the same thing for different countries. There's nuances in different industries. There's different speeds as well. And I think this is up to you to understand yourself as an individual business, knowing if they enter here or in these countries, etc., it has these dynamics associated to it.
Yeah, I'm just asking a question because I can imagine indeed if you have to hit a certain target, you might prioritize a certain territory first or a certain segment first.
Yeah.
Because that will take longer to close than other segments, other territories, and then you should actually try to play with the with that dynamic.
Yes, and I think like the reason why I really like our product, you can say, is that you can only spend your money. You can only spend your money once, and you should be spending it where you get the most effectiveness out of it. Sometimes that's marketing. Sometimes it's another BDR. Sometimes it's a customer success person, etc. So let's try to spend our money where it has the most value for the company, and not necessarily within our little silo.
Mm-hmm. No, very interesting. Now, what is for Dreamdata then the next step?
So grow. But I think it's now we're 30 people and still learning, still want to make our product better, still want to improve retention, avoid churn, be better at upsell, be better at selling to enterprises, etc. So I think there's a massive hunger to improve most things. I think the most exciting part here short term is that we've released a new free product, which kind of is a B2B version of Google Analytics, which is compliant to all these tracking challenges. So hopefully we'll see. Yeah, this week has been really good. But our idea is basically to build a website tracking technology that is more meaningful for B2B companies and still stay compliant. And hopefully we can make that become kind of our truly product-led motion. So people will start using that product, and once we can see that they use that product, we'll get our salespeople to reach out to them and say, hey, how's it going? Want to connect this data to your CRM system as well, and hopefully upsell from there.
Yeah, I can see why you would do that. Do you focus primarily on the European markets, EMEA, global?
So mainly it's Europe and North America. That's I think typically for most software companies the biggest markets out there that you want to be chasing. But we're kind of pretty much location independent. So if you fit our ideal customer profile, we'll be happy to sell to you in whatever country you're in.
Awesome. All right. Well, Steffen, thank you so much for being on the show. If people want to find out more about you, about Dreamdata, what touch points do you want to capture?
I want people to connect with me on LinkedIn, and we can chat there. Happy to reply any questions. Our website is dreamdata.io because the .com domain is owned by somebody who doesn't want to sell it yet. So it's dreamdata.io for the foreseeable future.
I think that sounds great. Now I have a last question for you, a question I ask every guest on the show. So if Steffen Hedebrandt would be a brand, what would it stand for?
That's a nice question. There's a couple of things that it's important for me. Kind of there's transparency, friendliness, treat people well, competence, just no bullshit kind of approach. I think that's how I try to live my life, but also not wrapping things in. So if be honest about how you see the world.
Yeah, I can see that. No, I like it. I'll take it.
That's a really good question to ask people.
Yeah, usually you always get pretty nice answers, but sometimes someone comes with out of the box answer, and you're like, oh, nice.
Yeah.
But all right, again, thank you, Stefan, for being on the show. I
Yes,
wish you the
Dylan.
best of luck with Dreamdata. I sure hope to see you more in the near future, and hope to catch you on the next episode, man.
It was a pleasure, Dylan. Thank you.